Lake Lanier is haunted? What? That is one of the biggest myths you're going to hear about Lake Lanier. And today we're going to debunk that, and then I'm going to give you 5 pros, 3 cons on why Lake Lanier is an awesome, awesome place to live and buy. How's it going? My name is Winston Gibbs with the Living in Northeast Georgia channel. I'm here to tell you everything there is to know about the lifestyle, the recreation, real estate from Atlanta, Lake Lanier, Athens, up to Lake Hartwell, and everything in between. So hit the button down below to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you can get all the updates when videos release. Let's get to it. So lake life, as I've had most of my life, is one of the best lifestyles that you can possibly have. And a rumor from Northeast Georgia, if you vacation or if you live there, is that Lake Lanier is haunted. Well, let me be honest with you, that is not true. The reason this rumor exists, and we're going to get into how this goes into the pros and cons of this video, is that at one point Lake Lanier flooded a huge area because it's a man-made lake. The Chattahoochee River was flooded, created Lake Lanier. But in doing that, there were multiple towns that were flooded to create this incredible atmosphere and area. And some people say that there were cemeteries and Indian burial grounds that were flooded, and that is why Lake Lanier is haunted. Part of this myth comes from that of all the lakes in Georgia, there are more incidents, deaths, drownings, wrecks on Lake Lanier than any of the other lakes in Georgia. Now, this is going to lead us to our first con. I don't like to talk about the negative things first. I always want to start with a positive, but I want to address this to start out with. One of the biggest cons about Lake Lanier is the congestion of the lake. Because of its proximity to Atlanta, and because it is so close to such a large urban area and the way it's designed and shaped, you do have more traffic incidents on Lake Lanier or boating incidents than any of the other lake. When you have these big mega holiday weekends like 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, or other events, there are a large number of people that get out there. Lake Lanier is very congested. And so with that, typically there's going to be drinking. Maybe you have kids that are not being responsible and not following the rules of lake life like you should, and incidents happen. And it's so, so unfortunate. And we pray for the families that have suffered these tragedies. And that's why we want to reiterate the importance of following lake safety. And that's why the people who monitor the lake are out there to help support you. They're not trying to hurt you. So con number 1 is the congestion on Lake Lanier. It is definitely an issue, but as long as you're smart and you know when to go, if you're going to vacation or buy there, it can be avoided. And there's different parts of the lake, the way it's shaped with a very large open water bodies in the beginning. Up on the north side of the lake, you're going to have more channels and all that. Being smart, being responsible is going to be your best way to enjoy the lake. With that said, I just mentioned it. The first pro about Lake Lanier is its proximity to Atlanta. You see, from the south side of the lake by like Beaufort and Cumming area, it's only about 35 miles to downtown Atlanta. When you get to the north side, you're probably looking at about 45 to 50 miles because the lake is so large. It's 38,000 acres of water body, which is a ton, but it's only going to take you about 45 minutes to an hour to get to Atlanta. And so part of that is the airport's there, all the big businesses there. And because of that large metro area, you have a lot of people that are either flying in or you have people that vacation up there. But the benefit of being in Atlanta, if it is your full-time residence or if it's a seasonal thing, because we have a lot of people from up north who are coming down to enjoy the South and all that it has to offer, you can get to Atlanta and have all the benefits of one of the largest metro areas in the entire country. So the second pro about living in the Lake Lanier area is twofold. Number 1, there are a lot of incredible school systems that surround this lake. As I've mentioned in previous videos, there's 4 different counties, and if you go look and do your research, all of them are very highly rated schools depending on what you're looking for. The Forsyth area with Cumming has some very, very high rated schools. Gwinnett County and Beaufort, unbelievable school systems. And then when you get into Hall County, there's various school districts through there as well, all which do very, very well. There's numerous public school or private school options throughout the area if that's more what you're looking for. And there are also multiple colleges throughout the area that are close proximity. So if you have a child who's going to college and you're looking for a second residence to go visit them or be close, then you have those options. All the schools provide good opportunities with college level AP classes and dual enrollment opportunities to go ahead and get a head start on those college credits, or there's technical programs as well. And then all the extracurriculars to boost those college resumes. All of these schools have tons of opportunities. Some of them, like I said, comprehensive and technical high schools, and some of them regular high schools, but they all are gonna look really good as you're trying to boost those resumes. So that is part one if you're looking at this at Lake Lanier as a full-time residence. Now, the other side, if you're looking at maybe a part-time or a retirement opportunity, the healthcare systems throughout the area are unbelievable. Between the North Side hospitals, Piedmont Regional, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and then if you want to go into Atlanta, then you have all of the mega hospitals of that area. Those hospitals are very, very highly rated, and with whatever medical conditions you may have or concerns, or if emergency strikes, then you have very, very quick access to all these top rated facilities. And so whether it's a full-time residence and you're looking out for your children, or health concerns or retiring and you want to be close to good medical facilities, the Lake Lanier area has you covered. The third pro is the economy. Now, with such a unique feature as this lake that spreads over such a large area and it brings in a lot of tourists, that create a great opportunity for a thriving economy. With Atlanta so close, you have a lot of people that don't want to live in the big city, so they move out here and commute in. And you also have a lot of people that have businesses, and there's all kinds of different opportunities that branch away from the big city. And then with Lake Lanier being such a tourist attraction for a large portion of the year, it creates an unbelievable opportunity for an economy. And there's also some very unique and specialized opportunities, such as boat mechanics and other opportunities that happen within an area like this. So the economy is thriving, and if you're looking for a good paying job, I'm sure that you can find one. Or if you work remote, then hey, it's almost like you're on vacation all the time. But if you need something around the area, it is definitely there. That would not be something I'd be concerned about, because there's a little bit of everything in the area. Now, second con about living on Lake Lanier is with the proximity to Atlanta and with the thriving economy and with all the other benefits such as education and hospitals, it has become a hotbed for people buying. And so part of that is that the cost of living and the cost of buying a home has definitely increased dramatically. There's been over 10% increase for the last 4 or 5 years in the area. So house prices have risen dramatically. The average price of a house sold last year on Lake Lanier was at $1 million. So if you get a house for under $1 million, you've done well. You've beaten the average. And the prices are going to average, if you're looking for a price per square foot basis, your average is going to be around that mid $300 per square foot, to help put that in context. So I think if I remember correctly, there were only 10 houses last year. There were not many houses that sold under $500,000, but the high cost of living, or the high cost of entry into the lake market, is going to be one of the cons in the neighborhood of buying in that area. The other con that goes along with that cost is the maintenance of lake property. There are different things that you have to be aware of and be concerned about that may add to the bills that add up, or taking out of your wallet to maintain some of these things. If you have a boat in your dock, you have fees that you have to pay for those. There's an old saying that boat stands for break out another 1,000, because there's always repairs to do on that. Georgia is a hot and humid climate next to the water. Usually humidity and hot weather don't go well with houses, so you have to be aware of those different things. Always be on guard and looking out for things that may happen to your house. And if it's a second home, you can have people maybe regularly check on it. You need to have a really good list of people that can be at your service or go check on things. If you're out of town and a dock breaks loose or something, or there's a big storm and you want someone to check on your house, there are resources that I could get you in touch with to help make sure everything is being maintained properly if you're not on site. So the high cost of living and the maintenance, the general maintenance of having lake property, is definitely one of the cons as that cost has continued to go up. Now with that, this is an extra pro, which I'm not going to count it as one of my 5, but the value, if you do get in the lake, is not going anywhere. I know there's a lot of fear about housing prices and that kind of thing, but because of the unique and scarcity of lake properties, I would not be concerned about value dropping. But hopefully you get in here, you're going to stay here for a long time, and maybe it's something you can pass on to your children. Or what I've seen a lot of people do, which is a huge benefit in the area, is short-term rental. Short-term rental is a very good opportunity to increase wealth and maybe pass that on, or if done right, it could pay for the property itself, and then you could utilize the property at the times of the year that you would like to utilize. The lake property and lake values and short-term rentals are not going anywhere from what I can tell, and most of the experts would agree with me. For your fourth pro, an actual one on the list, as a little bit more intricate, and if you're from the area you may understand. The lake is owned by the Georgia Corps of Engineers, and it's regulated by the Department of Natural Resources. Why I say that as a pro is that some of the other lakes in Georgia are Georgia Power lakes. And so the land with a Georgia Power lake, if your house, you don't actually own that land that your house sits on. You're on a lease, and it's really not a huge deal. But if you like the idea of owning your land, then that is a huge plus with this being a Corps of Engineers lake run by the DNR. And also that's another pro of that, is that you have a body that regulates the lake. And so I would not be concerned about the safety, even with the local. The crime is pretty low in the area, very low. You can go look that up. It is definitely an affluent area. You don't see as much of that, although there are times, I wouldn't leave everything unlocked by any means. But I think, in my mind, in my opinion, it is a positive to own the land that you're on, because you have the rights to do with your land what you want, and it's not as highly regulated. My grandfather always told us that God ain't making no more land, so get it while you can. And so that's a huge plus. Now, one of the things that you should be aware of, and this is regardless of what lake it is. Now, if you see like this shoreline behind me with the DNR and Georgia Power Lakes, there will be a portion of it where, like here, where the water starts owing, there is going to be a section that is monitored and run and owned by the Corps of Engineers. And that is why for docks, you have to get lake permits and do those things, because you are technically on their land, but you have access and easements to get there. And there are regulations about tree heights and underbrushing and those kind of things. But overall, I like the idea of owning the land that my house is on. For your third and final con of the Lake Lanier area, again, kind of a twofold one, is first of all, and this kind of goes back to the point of the increasing prices of the homes and the scarcity of it, there are no more dock permits available. So if you bought a lot, they are not issuing any more dock permits. So if you buy a house, you're going to get that dock permit transferred to you, and you'll start paying the fees on those dock permits. So right now, they are out. They're not putting any more on, because they do like the conservation of it, and you still want to have some of that natural beauty and not just overly congested, even though you do have houses that are relatively close, and it's still great to enjoy. But that is one of the negatives about it. And the other thing with this being a Georgia Power Lake is, I mentioned that the Chattahoochee River is what flows and fills this lake. Well, the dam that starts the lake, where all the flooding starts at the Chattahoochee, the Sidney Lanier Dam, is a hydroelectric lake. And so with that, it actually pumps water to create electricity for the surrounding areas. And so at times, especially in the winter time, you'll see the lake levels vary and go up and down. You can see in the background a little bit of that red clay. And right now the lake levels are really high. We've had a very good rainy winter and spring, and so the lake levels are up. But if we go through a drought, or for some reason they're having to put out more electricity, you can see those water levels begin to decline. And what happens with that is you're gonna have to be aware of your dock, because they're not sitting on posts, they're actually movable, they're attached with cables and have wheels on them. And so if you're not careful and you get one of those seasons, especially if you don't live there full time, or you can't see your dock as well from the house, you don't have a great view, and it's winter time, you haven't gone down there, your dock may get really close to getting beached, and then you're going to be stuck trying to get it out of the water. Or if the water comes up too quickly, maybe your catwalk gets underwater, and you're really going to need help with getting the dock back in the position that needs to be. So that is one of the cons of the area. That kind of goes back to the maintenance of it and being aware of how the lake operates. But there are people that can help you with those different things. For the fifth and final pro of Lake Lanier, which I've saved the best for last in my opinion, is the amount of recreation that is available in the area. Again, I love the lake life. Golf and the lake are my two things, and it's a lot of my identity of who I am. And so Lake Lanier has hosted Bassmasters if you're into fishing. They hosted the 1996 Olympics for the rowing, and there's camps all over the place. The Olympic National Park is there. Fishing, rowing, just boating in general. All the skiing, wakeboarding, tubing, wake surfing, just enjoying that is a huge part of it. if you like to sail and do those things, there's sail clubs all throughout Lake Lanier. So all those different variety of entertainment and recreation is a huge plus. If you're crazy like me, you may like to barefoot or go do flips, and it's just so fun to get out and enjoy what the lake has to offer. One of the coolest things about Lake Lanier, which I've highlighted in another video I've talked about, is the Lake Lanier Islands. The Lake Lanier Islands is right in the middle of the lake, in the heart of it, and it's a resort owned by Margaritaville. It is absolutely beautiful. There's tons of restaurants. There's resorts where you can have a little staycation. They have marinas. There's a golf course over there, which is unbelievable, has great views. So all that's really cool. Going back to their recreation, if you want to, it's really fun in the middle of the summer to take your boat out, cruise over to one of the mini marinas or different restaurants on the lake and have a nice dinner, a glass of wine. Be responsible when you drive back. And so that's just a really cool thing that not everyone gets to experience, but it's part of the benefit of that area. And to tag along with that, as I mentioned, the seasonality maybe of short-term rentals, but the weather is great. For some of the people who are more extreme like me, I normally get in and start skiing around March, and I'll go as late as October. I mean, the temperature levels, because of the proximity and where it's located, some of the lakes a little bit farther up north, like Burton and Chattahoochee, the water's still got a nip to it, even in May and June and July. And then the lakes a little farther down south, I think, are a little bit dirtier and not as clear. I mean, when you're floating, you can see your feet when you're floating there because the water's so clear because of where it's at in proximity to the Georgia mountains and with the fresh rivers flowing through it. But the weather creates a great opportunity to enjoy that lake life for a very long time. Some of the friends I have up north, up in the Massachusetts area, they aren't able to put their boat in the water until Memorial Day, and they normally have to stop by the end of August. So we have a couple extra months on both sides where you can really get out and enjoy it. And with things like wetsuits and those different things, it's not that bad. But also, if you get a really nice, mild day in November or December or January, you can drop the boat in and you can take a nice cruise, maybe grab a little blanket and just really enjoy cruising around the lake. It is probably, in my opinion, the best thing about the lake life in Georgia. Those are the pros, those are the cons about living on Lake Lanier. I definitely think the pros outweigh the cons. And just to reiterate, Lake Lanier, it's not haunted. You just gotta be smart, be responsible. So I'm probably about to drop the boat in. I'm gonna go skiing myself. And if you want more content about living in Northeast Georgia, follow my channel, hit the button to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and you're gonna get all the information as we keep uploading content on Northeast Georgia, the lifestyle, recreation, and real estate in this wonderful area of the country, and specifically in Georgia. I'll catch you at the next one.